What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Hall of Fame iconic boxer, Juan Manuel Marquez, who became the third, and at that time, third Mexican-born fighter to become a world champion in 4 separate weight classes, along with Erik Morales and Jorge Arce. Now we know 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez is a 4-division champion and undisputed, first Mexican undisputed world champion. But Juan Manuel Marquez, he was the third fighter in history, Mexican-born fighter to become a 4-division champion. He's retired, he's a Hall of Famer, he's an icon. 56 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, 40 big wins by way of knockout, 5'7" with a 67-inch arm reach. Last time we saw him in the ring was May of 2014 when he beat Mike Alvarado via unanimous decision. With that said, he does podcasts. He's an analyst now. He's a boxing pundit, and he weighed in on the biggest fight in the sport of boxing between undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He makes 50% of the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. He's half. The other half is undefeated, unified 3-belt WBC, IBF, WBA welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 2, if not '1, but definitely top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, and Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is 32 wins, no losses. 28 wins, no losses, no draw. 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. They make for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Most recently, it was noted on Thursday that Terence Crawford has agreed to all terms, and that Terence Crawford is going to take a significantly less split. 65-35 was being reported. No back-end money, no guaranteed money. He just betting on himself and confident that he's going to win the fight. On Thursday, this was noted. So with that said, the boxing world is buzzing. Looks like the fight is done. And Juan Manuel Marquez, he weighed in and gave his thoughts. And he picked Terence Crawford to be the victor. And he gave epic in-depth reason as to why, right? He says that Errol Spence is, fundamentally sound. He's big, he's strong, he's a southpaw, great jab. And he sees a specialty in Terence Crawford because he himself, Juan Manuel Marquez, wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the most athletic guy, wasn't the most twitchy guy, wasn't the most explosive, but he's fundamentally sound. And he said one thing that Terence Crawford reminds him of himself, and legendary retired Hall of Fame iconic superstar boxer, the man known as Money, 5-division world champion, 50-0, pound-for-pound king, Floyd Mayweather Jr. He said that Floyd Mayweather and himself reminds him of Terence Crawford, right? And he stated because of his ability to counterpunch in time, okay? He says ultimately he thinks that he fought Floyd Mayweather back in September of 2009. He lost a unanimous decision. He was dropped in that fight. You had 2 great counterpunchers. So he says the counterpunch ability and the timing of Terence Crawford is exactly what's needed to beat a fighter like Errol Spence. He says that everybody points to his versatility, which he's versatile, and everybody talks about the ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox. But more importantly, everybody is missing how great of a counterpuncher Terence Crawford is with great timing. And he says that's what's needed to beat a fighter like Errol Spence, okay, who's a southpaw. Now, obviously, Marquez, he's very familiar with southpaws, as he has 4 legendary some of the greatest fights in the history of sport of boxing with legendary retired iconic Hall of Fame Filipino superstar boxer, 8-division world champion, Manny Pacquiao, in which he brutally knocked Manny Pacquiao out in the 4th and final fight. But the 3 fights before that, the first fight, he was dropped 3 times in the first round, but there was no 3 knockdown rule, and he got up to fight to a draw. Then the second fight, saw Marquez lose a very close fight, and he also lost a very close third fight. And then we know the rest is history. In the fourth fight, he brutally knocked out Manny Pacquiao, and it went viral. One of the most brutal knockouts you could see in the history of the sport of boxing. And Manny Pacquiao's a southpaw who's explosive, who's strong, and has, you know, a big left hand. Now, there's obviously a difference between Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence, because Errol Spence is not as fleet-footed as Manny Pacquiao. His hand speed is not as fast as Manny Pacquiao, and he's not left-hand dominant like Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, for the majority of his career, has been left-hand dominant. Now, he started to, over time, incorporate his right hand, right hooks, you know, and use his jab to get, you know, his left hand home where he wants it to get. But he still, once adversity hit, became a left-hand dominant fighter. He resorted back to what he knew. And so because of that, you know, Marquez, he wasn't as athletic, as explosive, as quick, and as much power as Manny Pacquiao. So in those 4 epic legendary fights, Marquez had to use his ring IQ, his timing, and his counterpunch ability to offset Manny Pacquiao. And you can make a case that Marquez won all 3 of those first fights with Manny Pacquiao. The 4th one was decisive. There was no controversy. But you can make a case he won all 3 of the first 3 fights, right? Nonetheless, he didn't get the nod, but his timing, his counterpunch ability, and his ring IQ is what allowed him to be competitive and give Manny Pacquiao so many problems. And so he's saying that that's going to be the same situation and scenario that Terence Crawford has against Errol Spence. Errol Spence has arguably the highest work rate out of any fighter in boxing currently today. He absolutely does not stop. He has a very high motor. He's very active, okay? He lets his hands go. He's never seen a situation, a scenario where he don't let his hands go. But at the same time, he's defensively responsible. Now, he don't always transition from defense to offense smoothly or from offense to defense smoothly, okay? And he can get hit in what I like to say the no man's land area, okay? And but with that said, Errol Spence, you know, has a very high ring IQ. He's fundamentally sound. He is, you know, he's very, you know, decisive in what he wants to do. He's not just throwing caution in the wind. He's not just flinging them out there just for the sake of letting his hands go and just being active and out working. No, he's, you know, strategically applying a lot of physical pressure and mental pressure, and doing so with his activity, right? And staying in your chest. And so Terence Crawford, being a smaller guy, Errol Spence a natural welterweight. Terence Crawford started his career at 130. He's a champion at 135, 140, and 47 now. So he's naturally, physically the smaller guy, okay? And so because of that, you know, the physicality and the natural physical strength of Terence Crawford is going to, of Errol Spence, is what most people are concerned with in this fight. Now, Terence Crawford is a world-class wrestler, so he's physically strong. But over a duration of time, you can see in his fight with Igor Kabalakis, although he's physically strong, he was getting pushed around, right? In the Sean Porter fight, same situation, right? Because he's just naturally a smaller guy than they are, okay? And so with that said, you know, how does he offset Errol Spence's physicality, his onslaught, his aggression? And Marquez is saying that he's just got to be a counterpuncher the entire night. Don't look to be overly physical. Don't look to match him in what he's doing. But at the same time, don't just look to move around the ring and box. Just be a counterpuncher. Marquez, he was flat-footed in all the Pacquiao fights. He was down. He got knocked down because he took a chance in trying to trade with Manny Pacquiao or counter Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao being explosive and having a hand speed and power in his left hand, always seemed to find a way to drop Marquez, okay? Whether Marquez was badly hurt or off balance. Majority of the time, he was just off balance because Pacquiao catch him with something he didn't see in an exchange, right? But Marquez's timing gave Pacquiao all types of problems. So he's saying that that's what he has to do. He has to counter in between Errol Spence's punches. So while Errol Spence is being very active, so he said that Errol Spence is going to give Terence Crawford a lot of openings because he's so active and he's so aggressive. But he's strategic with it, though. He's not Paul Williams, No slight to the Punisher Paul Williams. Salute to the Punisher Paul Williams. But Paul Williams is an active fighter that just lets his hands go, and not always with a rhyme and reason. Or you can even look at 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Leo Santa Cruz. He has a very, very high work rate, but not always having a true destination for his punches, right? He's just being active, just trying to outwork you, right? That's not the case with Errol Spence. He's strategically letting his hands go in spots where he's trying to wear you down. And so Terence Crawford is historically a slow starter. Historically, he can't start off slow, because when you're dealing with Errol Spence, high work rate, but he's still picking when he's using his work rate, right? He'll just walk you down physically and get you to the position where he wants you to get to be in, and then he'll let his hands go. And he don't get enough credit for his foot placement, his educated footwork. Errol Spence does not get enough credit for his educated footwork. If you watch his fight with Kell Brook and Sean Porter, how he would pivot in the phone booth, turn so he can have the perfect angle to give you the perfect angle where you can't punch, but he can be effective, right? But he'll walk you into that position, or he'll jab his way into that position. And Terence Crawford had a hard time with the jab of Kell Brook, the timing. And so Marquez is saying that Terence Crawford needs to just be a counterpuncher. He says that he's one of the best, if not the best counterpuncher he's seen today that's actively boxing. And so that's what he needs to do to be victorious. And I agree, but I do think that he needs to mix it up. He also has to be the aggressor. He has to be first. He has to change the channel on Errol Spence. Give him something different to watch, okay? Give him something different to think about. He can't keep it on the same movie and keep it on repeat, because eventually Errol Spence is going to understand what's coming, and he's going to know the ending, and he's going to know when to turn that movie off and when not to. So Terence Crawford is going to have to, you know, use a plethora of different approaches to being able to offset Errol Spence's aggression and to slow Errol Spence down. I don't think he can physically, when Errol Spence gets on the inside, tie him up for a duration of 12 rounds, because I think that the physical nature and the strength and the downhill aggression of Errol Spence is going to be a lot for Terence Crawford to endure over 12 rounds, because he just naturally has the smaller frame. And so I think that Terence Crawford just has to pivot, use angles in a manner he did with Sean Porter, but he got to be more of a first and more of a boxer in doing so as well. So this is going to be epic, and I can't wait to see it. So it looks like November 19th, we're going to get Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. Marquez is picking Terence Crawford and gave his epic breakdown of why. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.